I've worked with Dave before to deliver a few different items. So when he asked me to do another delivery for him, of course I said yes. But he didn't really explain exactly what it was we were going to be delivering. I just knew it was something big this time. I hired someone to help me and promised to pay him $100 because Dave was able to get me a price on this one that I felt happy with and willing to provide extra help. If someone's going to provide more, I want to also provide more. Jared and I arrived and we finally saw the item for the first time. It's a cabinet from an old Apothecary. All of the drawers are labeled with the type of drug or base component of pharmaceutical drugs, very basic old pharmaceutical drugs that it used to contain. Of course, the cabinet is empty now. This was a shell sign, but someone had cut the S off and Dave bought it that way. It was a rainy, dreary, wet day, so we spent a good deal of time wrapping everything up to make sure that it survived the transport without getting wet. I knew that my customers would be pretty forgiving, but my goal is always to have 0 incidences, 0 problems, 0 issues, 0 reasons that they need to forgive me, even if I know they're the type of nice person who probably wouldn't make a big deal over a little bit of water getting on an old wooden cabinet. The only thing I'll make a big deal about is how long I spent filming myself raising this cabinet. Dave is invested in, don't tell my sister, but this is going to be her Christmas present. It's off of a ship, and she used to work with the Merchant Marine, so it's perfect. Anyways, Dave has invested in a hydraulic lift that can lift up to 1,000 pounds. The cool thing about Dave, and the thing that I relate to, is that he always puts everything back into his business. He's not really trying to make money yet. He is trying to pay off and improve this space, which he is currently leasing to own. His business is called Good as Old, and it can be found on Instagram. I'd highly recommend you look him up if you are interested in, as he puts it, cool old stuff. He's a purveyor of cool old stuff. Except he doesn't have a young audience, apparently. So he doesn't censor it. Jared and I moved the furniture, and the ones with the drawers were quite heavy, and we also wrapped them up several times over. This was what I was most worried about any potential damage happening to, since it has even these delicate 100-year-old pieces of paper with labels on them, some of them still fairly clear, all of them fantastic and patinaed. Now, obviously, since I'm both cameraman and head employee and boss, there's only so much of the process that I actually capture. I asked Jared to get a shot of me cutting the foam. The foam is what we use to place between and around and over the pieces to make sure that they don't rub against each other or rub against the straps. Dave loaded all those uprights into the van personally, so the fact that there's no foam in between them is totally okay. I was going to say it's on him, but it's not really on anyone. It just was not necessary. And Dave has a good feel for the items that he sells and his customers and what they're looking for or not looking for. So I'm comfortable trusting his judgment. If they don't need to be wrapped, he's comfortable placing them in amongst each other, then that's good enough for me. This is me, I suppose, just proving that the day continued to be rainy and dreary. And if you hadn't noticed yet, this is a stream of consciousness narration. I'm watching the footage as I narrate, remembering the day, and trying to give you an idea of what went down. This is the location in Colon, Michigan, where we delivered the cabinets. Colon, you heard that correctly, just like semicolon, but more complete. Colon, the typical spelling, Colon, Michigan. It's the name of a town in Michigan that is known for, of all things, magic. People pulling stuff out of their sleeves, I guess. This is a really cool downtown space, and I couldn't tell you the address off the top of my head. They're only open, I believe, Fridays and Saturdays. It's kind of a community space, a blend. They have a market, a storefront of sorts, community space where people can come and be creative and do projects. It's a little bit of everything. They try to be friendly and open to the community, but at the same time, keep in mind it's not a library, so the events and the projects and crafts and art and whatever else you might do there is not typically free. They explained to me that they do try to keep it accessible to the community. So, as I would say with anything, remember that everybody needs to make a living. Everyone needs to make money. Please don't come expecting cool things to always be free. Come expecting them to be worth it. These guys, for example, purchased this really amazing, neat, antique, historical, industrial salvage item just to make the space all that much more interesting. And in purchasing it, they were not only supporting Dave and his venture with Good as Old, but me and my venture with Send It Delivery Co. And they even, in this case, allowed me to hire someone, if only for the day, because they paid adequately. And that should be celebrated and appreciated. Please meet them with that energy. There's something to be said, I think, for people who do stuff. Doesn't even matter that much what it is. These are just people who are out in the community doing something. And today, what they're doing is receiving this cabinet in 3 separate pieces, which we will soon begin to put together. But first, of course, we have to get it in. Here I had the brilliant idea of putting the phone against a brick alongside the building so we could film ourselves in the process. Apparently, I've never heard of such a thing as a tripod. Now, this seems pretty boring to me as I watched it, but as I said in my other video that I made today, it's after 1 in the morning, and I'm tired and I don't actually want to watch all this footage and narrate over it, but I do want to get videos up on YouTube. This footage starts to accumulate on my phone when I don't take care of it, get it into videos, and get it online. And it's always easy to think that sometime later I'll get around to it. Well, someday never comes. You gotta do it when you can do it. Sometimes you gotta do it at 1 a.m. if you want it to get done. there was something else along the same lines that I was going to say, but again, keep in mind, it's 1 a.m. Be thankful for what you get. So, we're moving the piece inside. I should really come up with a far more interesting narration. There's got to be something I can say besides the obvious. Did I mention it was a rainy day? Did I mention that this store is pretty cool? And did I mention that they will be having an open house today? In fact, the day that I'm posting this video, Saturday, which I believe is, I can't look right now because I'm busy looking at this video as it plays. I believe it's Saturday, November 29th. And again, it's currently 1 a.m, Saturday, November 29th. As I make the video, they did mention to me that they're having an open house and a market event on Saturday. That would be this Saturday. So if you are near Colon, go check out the gluten and the salvia drawers, not actual salvia. I found it interesting that those labels survived and were much more legible than many of the others, which contained more obscure names that I was not familiar with. Now, when you hire me, you get 100% help, effort, and assistance with the entire process. So at this point, the delivery portion of the job is technically over. Delivery means transport. It means getting the item to its new location. I never stop there. For me, delivery means getting the item into the location and configuration that you need and want it. It means I'm going to help out on both ends as much as is necessary. I don't have any rules or limitations. And I am the owner and I am the boss, so I can do that. There's no corporate red tape. There's no one telling me that I can't stand on that ladder, that I can't hold that item in position as you screw it into the wall, that I can't carry it up the stairs if I'm willing to carry it up the stairs. There's no limitations at all. These stars, as Jared pointed out, are stars that commemorate famous magicians, much like the stars in Hollywood, which commemorate famous stars. So there's just so many magical things about this town. But now this cabinet is probably the most so. Even the bathroom was magical. And these are just very simple paperboard displays that had been taped or tacked or glued, I'm not sure, to the wall. Simple, yet so effective at adding interest. The intention, again, the willingness just to do something different than what is ordinary, normal, to add a splash of color, of interest, of something unique, makes this place stand out. I had no idea what Dave was doing here at first, but my job is to film, not ask questions. As it turned out, he was cutting a notch so that when we pushed this piece against the wall, it would fit perfectly with the existing electrical outlet behind it. as this footage shows. And at this point, I was just trying over and over to capture just how cool this piece looks in the space and in general. There's only so many different shots I could get because it is just the same thing over and over again. But the fact is that it really, really looked great, and I hoped that these shots that I was getting would capture that. Fortunately, these guys also have an online presence, and they also post content places like Facebook or Instagram. So they understood my desire to get some footage of the process. But I also had to put the phone down and make myself available to help where needed. So it was a matter of balancing all of the goals that we all had in this process. Here we're discussing how we're going to flip. So, as you can imagine, 5 men in the same room attempting to communicate with each other. There was a little bit of uncertainty going on. But we finally figured out what everybody else was trying to say about how we needed to flip this piece and what side it eventually needed to end up on. And there we go. That makes sense now. So Dave is the one who took all of this apart and salvaged it out of a very old general store that I think was slated for demolition. Let's just say it was, because that makes the story more exciting. Let's say that he rushed in and stood his ground in front of the bulldozers and climbed to the top of this piece and refused to come down until the tractors and the corporate developers stood down. Then he climbed back down, having not eaten for days, having given up all social interaction, and having written a novel about the importance of protecting historic artifacts such as this. He climbed down, he took out his trusty tool belt, and he disassembled everything, carrying it out on his back to his shop to prevent it from being destroyed by the bulldozers. Then he rushed into the crumbling building to remove the final items as everything collapsed in a cloud of dust, and he emerged triumphant with this entire historical piece, ready to be displayed in its new home. So that is exactly what happened. And here we are, just watching and facilitating his expertise as he uses advanced tools such as this protractor or level or whatever you call that thing. It's far too advanced for me. That's why I do shipping. All I need to know is what a truck is, what a trailer is, and what straps are. And I've now advanced to the highly technological foam. But Dave, on the other hand, knows how to use every power tool ever invented, and if there isn't one that fits the bill, he invents his own and builds it on the spot using salvaged parts from old warehouses and general stores. Thank goodness this video is almost over. We're at 20 minutes and I believe it's 23 minutes long. But first, let's put this right angle protractor level highly advanced, sophisticated, and difficult to find tool into this corner here, and watch as Dave brings it into the exact specifications as set forth by the original builder and salvaged in the original plans which Dave pulled from the dust of the collapsed building. And I am tasked simply to hold it in place as Dave uses an incredibly advanced piece of machinery known as an electric screwdriver to fasten this masterpiece to the wall. Dave is also an expert on the different types of screws, so whatever screw he's using is, of course, exactly the type of screw that is necessary to use for this project. And this footage is sideways, but there's no way that I'm going to stop my stream of consciousness narration 21 minutes and 27 seconds in to correct that. So the viewer will need to deal with the fact that there is one sideways piece of footage in here. Deceptively, this one is not sideways. This is a chance for the viewer to form their personal opinion on Dave's tattoos. What is that blue one? Is that an octopus? Is it a mythical creature? Is it a figment of the artist's imagination? The world may never know, but the image is here for you to enjoy. As I mentioned, I took redundant shots. And when Dave finally said that my services here were completed, I was a little bit disappointed that there were still ladders in front of the piece, and I never did get one single definitive shot of the piece by itself, fully in its new home. But it does look right at home, doesn't it? It looks completely natural here, as if it's always been a part of the building. Oh, thank goodness. Finally, I am driving home, and did I mention it was a rainy, dreary day? In fact, the rain stopped only briefly right as we unloaded, which was nice but not necessary because everything was, in fact, safely wrapped in plastic. I guess I thought you might like to see me lift the trailer off the hitch and get a sense of place with this beautiful red barn in the background in this trailer here. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, and be sure to stop by Colon, Michigan today for the event in which you can see the cabinet in all of its glory.